Okay. Okay. I need to address this real quick. So, I recently found an article from The Hill that basically is complaining about how politics must accept the reality of multiracial America and disavow racial backlash. And go on to talk about how everything's gone back and forth in the fight for racism, and they accumulate in this one thing right here that I have to respond to here. Racism flows through America like a river flooded with denial. Why is racism still such a big problem a decade after voters elected and re-elected a black president? Why do some Americans refuse to acknowledge our legacy of slavery and racial segregation? I need to acknowledge this and inform the Hill that they are fucking retards. Here's the thing. No one can deny that there was racism in this country way back when. That is impossible. That is an immutable fact. We had slavery. We had segregation. These were things that happened, and nobody can realistically look back on it and say it doesn't exist. To insist that people are denying its existing is a problem. And I say this because, again, you can't deny that it exists, and they're basically saying that Americans refuse to acknowledge that this is our legacy. Nobody in this country believes that we have not had a bad past. The fact that we have been able to move on from that said past, that's the problem. We were able to look at that and we got over it. Was slavery a thing in the United States? Yes. Did we outlaw it? Eventually, yes. We had an entire war based around it. Okay? Was segregation a thing? Yes. Did it favor some people over others? Yes. We can have that conversation. Did we end segregation? Yes. We did. And yet they're still complaining about how, about how racism is still a big problem in this country. We ended slavery. We ended segregation. Some people will say that forcing desegregation was not the right answer and we should have let things desegregate naturally. That's an argument and a conversation for another time. But still, it happened. Nobody was apparently very happy about it, and here we are today. What more do you want? You got your freedom. You got your laws against racism and everything else. Why are you insisting that it's still a problem? The reason why it's still a problem is because you keep insisting it's a problem. Stop it. Stop it. Get some help. Seriously, get some help. If you are so desperate to stand up for what is right, to stand against racism, look outside the United States. Are we perfect? No. Should we keep an eye out for it? Yes. But in regards to how bad it is not as bad here as it is in other countries, like, say, I don't know, Africa? Seriously, I know a guy in Africa, down in South Africa. He sees the whole thing firsthand. He's literally been in a few fights for his own survival. Middle East, they're still fighting like tribe warfare over there. And be honest, if we looked at the Middle East and we looked at the borders that's out there, those borders are not real. If we actually dive more into the Middle East itself, and we actually went down on the ground and we actually talked to people out there, you'd realize that the borders in there are way more complicated. I mean, they don't acknowledge those borders as the legitimate borders. It's basically all about clan and tribe over there. It's fucking madness. And speaking of which, I've got to talk a little bit more about this one other article that I found. It's apparently a freaking BLM making demands for this particular Christmas. I found this one off Fox. Let's see. They want to harness their economic power to disrupt white supremacist capitalism, blah, 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 blah. But what is it that they actually want? Well, apparently, what Black Lives Matter wants is to only spend money on black owned businesses. Don't go to white businesses. Not only just don't go to white businesses, don't go to Hispanic businesses, don't go to Asian businesses. The only businesses you should ever do business with are black businesses. And they're also saying the same thing for banks. Take everybody, not just the blacks, everybody needs to take all their money out of all the institutes and put them only in black institutes. How is that equality? How is that not racism? You know who else insisted on, only patronizing one kind of race? The Nazis. Yes, Black Lives Matter is now using Nazi tactics. They are basically saying we want to control the finances of this nation. We want to own all the money. We want to hold all the money. We want to be the supreme power here. Who else has the supreme power? Nazi Germany said that the master race was blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people. Now you basically got BLM declaring that the master race now in America needs to be the blacks. What more can I say? You've got a radical ideological group that are terrorists basically now declaring themselves to be the master power, and they want everybody to go along with their ideals. This is no longer about equality anymore, because they don't want you patronizing any businesses other than a black-owned business. They don't want you doing any business with any other business other than a black-owned finance institution. They don't want you spending your money on anything other than what is owned by black people. To me, this sounds kind of like saying, hey, we're better. We're the ones who should control the money because we're the only people that you should be spending money on. How the hell is this in any way, shape, or form any kind of step forward against racism? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it, and I just am not convinced that racism is even a problem these days. Now it's just people making shit up.